everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Cash Process. I'm your host, AC, with DFS Karma and BetKarma.com. As always, I have Ben Hostler, my co-captain, co-pilot. We're going to talk everything Week 14, what we did in review, what went right, what went wrong. Kind of an interesting lineup lock. I felt like it was something that I made some decisions prior to lock relative to the last few weeks. And then, of course, we'll get into Week 15. We'll talk about our value plays, some early pivots and things for you tournament lovers out there. And then we'll kind of get into the thick of it. As always, quick housekeeping, NBA starting, y'all. Like, we put a ton of work into the product itself at both websites, betkarma.com and dfskarma.com. Premium content, projection that live update in real time, core plays, cheat sheets, obviously the Discord community where you can chat with the experts itself, and much more stuff, trends and tools coming as well. So check that out, guys. Early bird edition on both sites there. Ben, it was a great week for you, me, the entire staff. I felt like I saw the most winning screenshots in at least a couple months. I mean, everybody was on the right plays at Karma. I don't know if that was just our ecosystem or what, but it was a great week in general. So let's talk about some things you did right, wrong, and then first look into next week.
Yeah, the Discord was absolutely on fire on Sunday. Tons of screenshots from like even just like subscribers like with their own lineups that they built and stuff using the content. Really good weekend. But yeah, I had a really good week on both sites. Ended up there was like some NBA vibes with that lock, right? Like a lot of like later news, which usually doesn't happen in NFL. Like obviously you get inactives on Sunday morning, but that was kind of crazy. Like Fournette being a healthy scratch and stuff like that actually did affect the slate. I had a good lineup. I ended up with Rodgers on both sides. So Rodgers was, dude, he was unowned on FanDuel, which I knew was going to happen. And that's purposely why I played him on FanDuel, because everyone was going to play Mahomes because he was a little bit cheaper. So I played Rodgers on FanDuel with the stack with Adams. But yeah, it was a good week. Had Henry on both sides. I was shocked, literally shocked, that Derrick Henry was only 30% owned on DraftKings. I couldn't believe it. Like, I know he was coming off a 6-point game. I know he doesn't catch passes, but like, there was nowhere to spend up on other than Devonta Adams, right? Like, you weren't spending up on anything else unless you wanted to play like Tyreek or whatever. But there was so much value by the time we got to the weekend. So I was shocked he was only 30%. I'm assuming he's going to be higher owned than that this week. The only thing I did wrong was I still played a lot of Jalen Hurts, but I wish I would have trusted myself a little bit more because I really liked him. I had him in cash until about 11:30 on Sunday morning, so I kind of wish I would have just trusted myself and played him. But I mean, it didn't matter regardless because I had a good week.
Yeah, you had a great week. I had a good week again. I mean, we talked early in the season for everybody who tunes in weekly. Shout out to y'all. We appreciate you guys being here. I mean, let's be real. It's late in the season. You guys are all DFS degens at this point because we're still grinding cash games. We're going to talk some tournament stuff as well. We're integrating a little bit of different stuff throughout the podcast going into next year. But I'll start with Henry, just like you said, to piggyback off that. Absolutely shocked. He was only 30%. I guess I was trying to find ways, maybe Thursday and Friday, as reasons not to play it. I don't even know why I was doing that, but I never really saved those different lineups because I just kept telling myself there's enough value. I did play DeAndre Washington. You didn't, not that it really mattered, but again, I felt like another season of COVID. It's too much value to not take advantage of some of these ceiling guys. And I just looked at Derrick Henry, to your point. I wasn't really worried about the receptions. The matchup was so great. The team total we talked about in Discord. The rushing upside equity as far as touchdowns, you can just check in the prop market, was absolutely insane. It's just hard to avoid. And I don't understand why 65% didn't play him. And that ultimately, I didn't have a great lineup. I'll go through it real quick. But sometimes that's all you need is like the one guy. And that's what's helped me, I think, in the last few seasons is I constructively try to build my lineups. And shout out to some of you guys in specific. I actually just pulled up his name in Discord. Let me try to pronounce this, Ben. Sendidora16 sent me a personal message about 2 weeks ago. And he did bring up a good point. Next year, for you YouTube family out there, we're going to display our actual lineups. I know you can't see them right now, but we'll talk about them briefly. But I think it'd be easier for people watching on YouTube and kind of go through it. But constructively speaking, I'm always trying to find ways to find the top 2 to 3 guys on a slate that I like the ceilings the most and insert them in my lineups and try to build around that. So that's been a really helpful, just original thought process. So to me, it was obviously Adams. I mean, again, I know this sounds nuts, but he was only 65% owned. I mean, granted, the slate, the salary, I just thought he'd be like 80%. It'd be like a freaking NBA slate, and some mega chalk guy opens up and he's just so high owned. I mean, he's still high owned, but you had to have him. Henry, and then I'll tell you what, man, I made the mistake I made that ultimately prevented me having an unbelievable week was I did have Travis Kelce, so I was trying to get the Henry Adams Kelce in my lineup. I was toying around with the KJ Hamler a little bit, and I don't even know why I came off him. I actually saw Sam had him in his core play, and I just took him out of my lineup, and I got sucked in the Ronald Jones vortex, which didn't kill me, but it didn't necessarily help me. He's just a guy I just hate that I fell into that trap, but he was 35% owned. I mean, he almost had another touchdown too, so he probably should have hit value. I did get sucked into the Akins trap. I don't know why I went that route, but I did. And I digress. I was with you on Robbie Anderson, who again got enough. I mean, 17.7 points really kind of put me over the totals as far as most small single entry tournaments as well. I fell short in the big $1,500 by a couple, but ultimately had a marginally small profitable week in general across the board. So, yeah, man, started the season 0-3, but I think I'm 9-5 now. Really good year. Looking forward to finishing strong. All right, Ben, I'm going right back to you. Where are we starting a quarterback? We started, by the way, last week. If you rewind the tape, hashtag the tape, Ben, we said to play Jalen Hurts and not even think about it. Well, you and I didn't listen to ourselves. So let's try to think again more clearly. What are we doing this week? Are we going to stick to it? I mean, I'm looking at it right now. It looks like Jalen Hurts, 5,900 the guy. Is that what we're doing? Are we going to actually stick to it this week?
Yeah, you would assume that he's going to be pretty highly owned coming off that game, right? Nice 23 DraftKings points in his first start, and that came against a really good defense, right? Like the Saints have just been shutting everyone that they've played down, and he was able to do that. I think the thing that stands out is the 18 rush attempts. Like that's insane when you factor in that he ran the ball 18 times in his first NFL start, right? Um, I I'm assuming that he's going to be pretty chalky this week, so he definitely sticks out at 5,900 right off the bat. I do want to touch on Lamar a little bit. So he's 7,500. He's kind of picked it up the last 2 weeks. Obviously, he had 22 weeks ago against Dallas. He had 26 DraftKings points. Last night went absolutely ham against the Browns, over 100 yards on the ground with 2 touchdowns, around 37 DraftKings points. The Ravens are in must-win mode, right? Like they have to win out, basically. I don't know if they have to win out, but they need to win games to attempt to get in the playoffs, right? Like winning that game last night was huge, and they're gonna have to win this week. So they're at home against Jacksonville. Really good matchup. I don't know, like the Jaguars' defense, I think is similar to the Browns. Really banged up secondary, no linebackers of consequence. Like I don't know how they're gonna be able to slow down Lamar Jackson. Hopefully, like he's all good with like the cramps or whatever. I still think he had to go to the bathroom. I don't know about you, but I think it's like a
Yeah.
lock that he was not cramping. But 7,500 Lamar, he's definitely going to be. We'll see if any value opens up, but have to consider him like with the Ravens in the position they're in. Like he's just going to have to put them on his back and do what he did last night. So I do think 7,500 is kind of a discount for Lamar the way he's been playing the last couple weeks.
So I'll definitely agree to disagree. Probably one of the first disagreements in the last couple of weeks. I just don't think. I mean, this is again knowing me. I probably will not play Lamar Jackson in cash. I don't know. I mean, to your point though, and we live in a weird world right now during COVID. Yeah, if there's a ton of value that opens up, I'll highly consider it. But I won't probably get sucked back into paying up this week because again, I just feel like 5,900. I'm not comparing Jalen Hurts to Lamar. I'm not. Who knows? Maybe someday. But why not just play Lamar lights at 5,900 in Arizona in a pace-up dome game? You know me, Ben. I love myself some little dome games. I like Hurts a lot, but again, he'll probably be chalk. Quickly, Ben, any pivots you like? Because we're trying to interject that into the podcast moving forward for tournaments.
Yeah. I mean, going back to the Brady did not have a good game last week, but we got this situation now where Ronald Jones might miss. I don't know. He like dislocated his pinky or something. I don't know if he's gonna play as of now. So if he was like potentially out, and Fournette is clearly in the doghouse, like was a healthy scratch, like they could implement an even more pass heavy game plan against Atlanta, which has kind of been a like a pass funnel defense the last couple weeks. So I think going back to the Brady is interesting, even though they're on the road. And I don't know. Kyler, I think definitely is interesting at 7K. He ran a lot more in their last game, so I think he's starting to get a little bit more healthy. So definitely Kyler opposite Hurts. Like if you factor in that Hurts is probably going to be chalk, just taking the quarterback on the other side of that game is going to be some leverage right there. So
Damn, you literally took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say the same thing about Kyler. He generally projects very well in our own simulations and projections portal. Obviously, generally weekly. I mean, I feel like generally people are down on him right now, but I would highly consider him as leverage play, especially he'll be kind of, around that Lamar price when people are looking to pay up. Last person pivot against Jalen Hurts in that price point range. Mitch Trubisky again. I mean, dome game going against this terrible Vikings defense. Mitch has the upside. Like I feel like that's a great play this week for reasons other than that. All right, let's go to running back, Ben. Anything? Let's start with value, and then we'll come up top. Let me just start with Derrick Henry. I'll take the words that you're going to take out of my mouth. You have to play Derrick Henry. I mean,
yeah, my
I
question
know
to
there's
you would
people out.
be
I mean,
like, are we gonna get him at 35% owned again? Like, there's no shot, right?
he'll be around that this week. I mean, 9,500 starts scaring some people. What was he's? It's only they say only $800 increase.
I mean, this is a
I
better
just
matchup than he had last week, and he's at home still. Like, how? I don't
yeah.
understand. Like, it's just like he is super game script dependent, right? Like, if like the Browns jumped on them and he was just game scripted out of the game, it doesn't look like Matt Stafford's going to play. Like, how are the Lions going to jump out to a lead, even with how bad Tennessee's defense is? Like, without Stafford, like, you wouldn't think that they're going to get up a couple scores. Obviously, anything can happen in the NFL, but
I will say though, I don't think a true ceiling game is imminent. So but the only thing I like to think about this is like he's gonna get you freaking 25 points. Does that appease to the give me to all the value guys out there that want the exact value on the exact number? Honestly, dude, sometimes when I make lineups, I just want to know like, all right, I got 25 points here. All right, I got 18 points from this guy coming, at least projected in my mind. He's not going to flop and dud, right? Like he's going to get you 25 this week. I mean, is he going to get you 35 to 40 like last week? Probably not. Are you going to hit a little bit of less value and mathematically it's probably not the best play? Probably too. So again, it does depend on value, but all right, that's my Derrick Henry rant. I do think you got to play him, and I haven't even looked at this slate yet. So I just think you got to play him in this matchup against Detroit, who is one of the best to run on in the entire league.
yeah, so outside of Henry, man, I know this is risky to do. I know it's risky. 7,200, Jonathan Taylor. Is the time here. He has looked so good the last couple weeks. Obviously went 150 yards and 2 touchdowns last week. Houston, as I said on this podcast last week, is in my opinion the worst run defense in the NFL. David Montgomery, who is not a ceiling type runner. I there was some stat where he hadn't had a run that was greater than 25 yards for X amount of games or something. Took 180 to the house on the first play of the game against Houston last week. Like, how do we not consider Jonathan Taylor at home? I know it's a risk because they do mix in guys. Like, Taylor came out and got like all the touches on their first series and then didn't do anything else until the second half because they just weren't giving him the ball. But the matchup is so good, it's tough for me not to consider him, even with the price up.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's going to be the highest owned player in the slate. So I think he's going to be mega owned. I mean, Jesus, just coming off the last statement I just made with Derrick Henry, there's a lot of really great plays actually in the 7K range. So I will say, even though I just told you you probably 100% should play Derrick Henry, the one thing that I will say, and this is stuff we talk about Discord, so shout out to subscribers, right? Get in there. We talk about strategy, especially later in the week when the slate is more digestible. Um, if Derrick Henry does project to be extremely high owned, then why not go with the Taylor, Austin Eckler, um, I'm just going to make up a name, Cam Akers combo, right? Like you get three really good guys. I mean, there's more running backs, I think, in play this week, Ben, than last. I don't know if that's a fair statement. That's just something I'm looking at right now. Plus, Dalvin Cook is $500 cheaper, which I didn't see at first relative to Derrick Henry. So there's always that, too. And you're going to get the pass catching from Dalvin Cook, plus it's a home game for him, too.
Yeah, so you mentioned Cam Akers, who I think is a really good play as well. Like, I think you could play Henry, Akers, and Taylor all in cash if you want to. As of now, we'll see. I'm sure more value will open up throughout the week, but I mean, Akers looked really good. Not really good, but he looked good in the Rams' first game this season, and then he kind of got hurt before he could take control of that offense. They drafted Cam Akers pretty high in the draft. But he's gotten the ball, 21 attempts 2 weeks ago, 29 attempts in that Thursday nighter. I mean, he just looks really good. 6,600. The Jets' run defense isn't that bad. Like, it's not as bad as you would think, seeing that they don't have a win. But it's tough not to consider Cam Akers at 6,600.
Yeah, I like that. I did mention, again, Eckler. Let me just stress again, like, man,
I don't
Austin
know if that
Eckler, like,
game's on the slate. I think they play prime time.
oh,
I don't
well,
I haven't looked. I just in my head, knowing Joey talking about it, I don't think they are on the slate.
you could be right, and that is my fault. And
He's-
just pretend you didn't
you're
hear
in
anything I said there.
you're in you're just in mid-season form, man. It's okay.
Yeah, I mean, standard. Okay, so yeah, we're going back to Henry, Jonathan Taylor. I like Akers a lot. Like you said, we'll just monitor that. Anyone else been kind of even below? We've had a lot of opportunities on cheap players relative to COVID and some other things. Are we looking at any true value plays?
Yeah, I mean, McKissick's price is up to 5,700. We'll kind of see what goes on there. With Antonio Gibson, and then the Miami situation we'll monitor. That was a big piece of news right over the weekend when they ruled Myles Gaskin out on Saturday. Like, that was a big piece of news. So we'll see what's going on in there. They play New England, but that's just something we'll have to wait and see. I don't see any value like really jumping out. I guess you could look at Duke Johnson at 5K if David Johnson was going to be out again, but he's probably or will be back this week. So I don't know. Fournette 4,500 if they want to give him the ball with if Jones potentially
No.
misses, that could be interesting.
All right, let's go to wide receiver. What's
Yeah,
your thoughts?
wideout's interesting. There's no Devontae Adams that we're locking in, so that's gonna instantly open up some salary. But then you have Tyreek Hill at 8,800 against the Saints. Probably not someone that you're gonna play in cash. I don't know if you disagree with that, but I like going dropping down a little bit. Allen Robinson initially stuck out to me at 7,400, especially you were kind of talking up Trubisky. Minnesota has a really beatable secondary. I like out the volume Allen Robinson's been getting, but I think my favorite play on this slate is Brandon Ayuk at 6,300, so dropping all the way down. So I'm not saying that these guys up at the top, like DK Metcalf, Ridley, Hopkins, etc., are bad plays, but I literally think Brandon Ayuk is the best play on the slate. This guy has been absolutely unbelievable over the last couple weeks. If you look at his last DraftKings games, 20, 23, 19, 20, 25, really good matchup against Dallas and a pretty good price tag at 6,300. So I would really like to play Ayuk if possible.
Yeah, he'll probably be somewhat highly owned, I would assume, after 16 targets. But yeah, 63 is very fair, especially if you're potentially starting with your main guy at that price point. I love that. I talk about that weekly. Every year we do this. Like, I really hate paying up for wide receiver. I felt like we had to last week. We had a lot of value. Um, Trying to see what else here if we are paying up. I mean, obviously the Titans guy is just, I mean, it's a great matchup, but I don't know, man. 14-point spread. I probably won't go there for cash games. I do like your call on Allen Robinson. It seems like the price is getting a little bit up there, and we might be paying for the chase of the last game. I'm talking cash games right now in a vacuum. If you've got the money, I mean, man, DeAndre Hopkins seems like he's just due. I know he had 11 targets. He had 136 yards. It felt quiet last week, though. But I'm 100% spending down this week, especially if we go the route of a Henry, a Taylor, and even trying to potentially jam in a Dalvin Cook. I do think that is probably the route to build this week in general. So Ben, let's go down even further. I think we're going to need value this week at wide receiver, and we've had some. Are we going to go back to the Barrios? Well, I'm sure the answer is no. There, Michael Gallup looks cheap again, 3,500. He didn't really produce last week, but in that same game, potential run back. Anything else cheap? I know there's a lot of guys below 4,500.
Yeah, so real quick to your point on Hopkins, Darius Slay has been awful the last couple weeks. So
Yeah,
definitely a good spot for him if you want to play Hurts, get a little action in that game. But yeah, there's some cheaper guys. CeeDee Lamb, like Gallup, is cheap, 4,500. I think either of those Dallas guys you could consider. If Jamison Crowder is healthy, he's only 4,400. I know the Rams are a really, really good defense, but that's just really cheap. For Crowder, someone that gets fed volume from Darnold. Don't want to play Jets in cash if I don't have to, though. The guy that sticks out to me is Chad Hansen. This is Bell's boy. He really, apparently, he loved him when he was at Cal. But, I mean, he's played exclusively in the slot, 16 and 12 DK points over the last 2 weeks, 7 targets in each game. Indy is obviously a zone heavy defense, so you would like to attack them over the middle of the field. So I actually think Chad Hansen at 4,200, even if Cooks is back, he's still going to be in the slot. So I actually think that's a pretty good play.
interesting. I took a look. I didn't know anything about him. You know me. Half the time I'm making these huge volume lineups. I have no clue who they are.
Yeah, and I
But
might have prematurely stated Brandon Ayuk as the best play in the slate because there's someone else that we got to talk about that's really cheap. But
I love it. You'll laugh at this, Ben. So I was not going to make this lineup of this combo, but when I noticed I had Barrios and Hansen, two white guys in my wide receiver slots, I was like, no, 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 no. I am not playing two white guys on my DraftKings main lineup at wide receiver this week. So I quickly pivoted and found other routes to go. I thought that was funny. How about this? This is a dart, I guess, but dude, I feel like we got to continue to make plays like this, especially nowadays. Cash games are all chalk fest. You just need a couple pivots, and this isn't like a ceiling play, but I feel like how about Greg Ward at 3,000 to pair with Jalen Hurts? He had 5 targets last week. I mean, again, I'm not saying it's a great play. I'm just saying, like, what do we really need from him? I mean, 3 catches, 45 yards. You think the end zone? It's like, man.
yeah, I'm not opposed to getting someone in a stack with Hurts. It's just like Hurts' value is going to be so like contingent on what he does on the ground. So I don't think you have to stack him if you don't want to. The guy I really like, 3,600, is Lynn Bowden Jr., Northeast Ohio guy. So you should be all on him. I loved him at Kentucky. Really wanted the Browns to take a shot on him just because I think he's really good if you can get the ball in his hands. But he saw 9 targets last week, 7 for 82. Played a lot in the slot. Looks like Miami could be down Jakeem Grant and Devontae Parker this week, so he's going to be on the field. I mean, probably might be the best play in the slate. Probably gonna be pretty. If those two guys are out, he'll definitely be chalk. He's only 3,600, but dude, have
I
to
like
lock
it.
him in.
I like it. All right, let's go to tight end. I don't even want to talk about Jordan Akins, but I'm assuming Jordan Akins
Dude,
will pop to 2,800.
how did he drop those passes on Thanksgiving and then double down with just wide open, like
Yeah,
no one near him, and it like hit him in the shoulder? Like I don't understand how you do that. I really don't
I
understand.
basically threw my phone. I was watching that in the red
Unbelievable.
zone, and my wife's like, "So you're losing?" I'm like, "Yeah, this asshole here just dropped the ball wide open. Like, I mean, what are you supposed to do? We put the plays in the right place. He literally would have hit value, crushed value. I mean, that's all it takes. That's another 7 points. Somehow he miraculously had, I think, 5. So he would have 5x with that catch. That's all it takes, man. But yeah, Jordan Akins does pop for the record. What else are you looking at? I mean, we could talk about Travis Kelsey all day, but I'm not playing Travis Kelsey at $8,000. I'm just not, and not in cash games at least.
Oh man, I don't know. I think you might be able to play Travis Kelsey in cash at 8K. I know that's a lot, man, but he literally, I haven't run. So coming into last week, he would have been the WR4 in PPR scoring, and he went off again. So I'm assuming he probably moved up. Obviously, Adams went off too, but I bet he's top 3 right now in PPR scoring. If he was a wide receiver, which he's not. So I do think he's in play. Not that you have to play him because it's tough to get to 8K at tight end. I totally get that, but I think he's the yards leader right now, for all pass catchers, which is crazy. But if you don't use him, I think both the guys in the Minnesota Chicago game really interest me. So if Kyle Rudolph's out, we'll have to wait and see. You definitely can look at Irv Smith Jr. And then on the other side of that game, Cole Kmet, I think, is probably the best play. He's 3K, 7 targets in each of the last 2 weeks. He scored a touchdown last week, playing a lot in the slot. A good matchup against Minnesota. So I really like Cole Kmet at 3K. Is probably who I would lock in if I had to enter a lineup right now.
Yeah, interesting. There's a lot of plays this week. I mean, I almost played Hayden Hurst, and it wouldn't have helped or hurt. But my God, like, how was he not more involved last
I
week? I mean,
love Hayden Hurst, like IRL in real life, but yeah, I don't. He just doesn't do anything. I'm shocked. I don't know
I
why.
mean, frustrating. Like you would assume it was a good spot for him, especially with Julio out. They kind of funnel to the middle of the field, the Chargers. But anyways, I digress. I do think he's in a good spot this week. I mean, for what it's worth, 3,300 probably wouldn't touch it in cash games. My probably favorite play on this slate for tight end, just looking at it right now, has to be Logan Thomas for me at 4,000. Now, again, it's all going to depend on salary, yada yada. We know this, but if I absolutely need the salary saving, potentially Akins. I love your call, and Komet. I've been looking at him a little bit more, but Thomas sticks out for one reason and one reason only. And I do like attacking certain schemes with a position, and that's tight end. And just the way that Seattle funnels stuff in the middle of the field, generally it's a very attackable area of the field historically with Pete Carroll. And, I mean, 4,000 seems really fair, and Logan Thomas is slowly starting to bust out here. So he could be in line for a big game. So I like that. All right. Let's finish with defense, Ben. Around the corners here. Uh, I guess for me, punting as always. I mean, that's what I do. It burned me last week, but what are you looking at?
Yeah, I do want to point out that we totally called the Cowboys on freaking Tuesday whenever we did this
Yeah.
podcast last week. We did call the Cowboys, but yeah, I think it's clear right now if I had to make a lineup and enter it for money, Washington football team 2,600 at home against a sketchy offensive line from the Seahawks, dude. Chase Young was absolutely all over the field last week, just dominant. Don't really know how they're gonna stop him, but anytime I can get a quarter or a defense for this price that can actually get pressure on quarterbacks, I'll take it for sure.
Yeah, I like that a lot. They're cheap, get the sacks. I mean, you got to project 6 to 8 points, right? I mean, that's in a good environment. A down game for any of these defenses are 2 to 4. And you get lucky, you bink with, the Cowboys like last week, which I ultimately pivoted off of for other reasons. Philadelphia sticks out to me. I know it's in the same game. Good environment, though, for potentially a take back, higher scoring game. So I guess Philly's a punt next to Washington. I guess potentially Dallas and Tampa Bay. I kind of was looking at Tampa Bay. Looks like they got a nice mismatch on that D line versus O line. Other than that, that does it, guys. I mean, we're rounding the corner here. 3 more weeks left. Let's just keep fighting, grinding. Let's finish strong here. We can make some money, especially if y'all had a down couple weeks. I mean, there's 3 solid good weeks left in cash games. Of course, tournaments. Take some shots. Last thing, really want to profess this once again. We put a lot of time, energy, and money into both NBA products at dfskarma.com and betkarma.com. Check it out, guys. Everything's there for your DFS betting and prop needs. All right, Ben, anything else?
No, just good luck this week, and you nailed it, man. There's 3 good weeks left. Even the first playoff slate is normally decent if you can play the multiple day one. So still some money to be made for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Good luck, guys. Talk to you next week.